Welcome back. This week I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to throw a proper sword blow, talk about the grip a little bit, targeting, and how to throw it to different zones. And I want to start with the grip. So when I teach, I prefer a good, strong, firm grip on the sword. So when I throw my blow, my hand is driving it, and I'm not wiggling my wrist around a bunch. Some folks will extend that wrist, but we've spent all this time building power from the ground, through our legs, through our torso, with all that rotation, and you build all that power up, you let go of that wrist, you're putting a circuit breaker into a nuclear power plant. You keep that wrist firm, and you're punching. And you're just driving the shot through, and it's all that power goes in. And what this does is it helps you not have to throw all your power into every shot. If you can throw 100 foot-pounds of power into a shot, but you only need 50, you're not wearing yourself out. You're not fighting at full power. You've got some benefits of efficiency there. The other thing to keep in mind is when you let that wrist break, now you've got to reestablish control of that sword, and you've got to pull it back. And you're gripping that, trying to regain that pull. You're using muscles that you don't need to be using. You're wearing parts out of you don't need to be wearing out, because your little muscles are yanking around the weight of that sword. Whereas I'm just moving the sword with the weight of my body. Okay. And the other thing about holding that sword with a firm grip is you are in absolute control of the sword. If my opponent's helm miraculously falls off, I cannot kill him even though I'm mid-blow, because I can throw it as hard as I want and stop him. Because I've got control of the sword. If you break your wrist, once your wrist is broken, that sword's gone. It's going to hit something. Plus, you also have a better feel. You get a better response on your blows when you've got a grip on the sword versus letting it go loose. You don't really get the same kind of feedback in your hand from the sword that you do when you've got that firm grip. So let's talk about targeting a little bit. So you notice when I throw my shots, my hand is really shoulder height or low. Part of the reason for that is when I throw my head shot, my hand punches across that center line. And my hand is lower than my shoulder, and it's across the center line. Now, if my opponent wants to throw a shot, wants to throw a flat snap at me, my sword's interposed in that space. It also allows you to change the angle on the sword a little bit. If they've got a round shield, or if you've got to change the angle somehow to get around their defense, it gives you that capability. And really, every shot is serving the soup one way or the other. You're serving the soup to the head. You're serving the soup to the leg. It's the same motion, just a slightly different target. And then if you want to throw the offside, you're spilling the soup. You're turning that bowl over. And now, you see on the onside, I'm basically punching outside of my opponent's right shoulder, sword shoulder. When you throw the offside, you're punching the opposite way, off their left shoulder. You want to be driving that sword through your opponent, not to surface impact. Because if all you're doing is hitting the edge, or hitting the surface of their armor, you're not going to deliver adequate power to deliver a blow that people are going to accept. You need to be driving through that target to an extent. You're going to have to learn and moderate what you're doing. If you're stronger or if you have really good technique, you're going to put a lot of pop on those. You're going to have to pull back how deeply you're focusing your blow. Whereas you might need to focus a little deeper if you're having trouble getting folks to take your shots. And then the same thing on the offside leg. You're driving through and you're punching with your hand that way. The direction your hand is going is the direction your power is going. So you do that offside leg, and I see a lot of folks do this, and they pull it back. The power is all going that way. You've got to drive it through and punch. And you notice when I'm doing this offside leg, it's not that forward rotation of the hip. it's a backward rotation because I've chambered the shot, but it's the same concept. You're driving with that leg, driving the hip, and punching the shot. And you can throw it to anywhere on the body. Regardless of height or which side it's on, you can throw that reverse hit on both sides. And that's kind of the advanced step, or the next step after serving the soup that you need to work on with your sword fighting.